For your cross solution, what you did was you saw this piece right here that could move over here, so you lined it up with the green. Then you move this orange over here, did an F2, rotate it over here, and you saw this red white edge. You moved it here, moved it back, did an F prime, and then rotated twice back over here. To take this out, you did an R, U prime, R prime, then a B2. So for this cross, you could have done something a lot better because you did have 4 rotations in your cross, which obviously is not the best. So first of all, here I would see this piece here. So what I do here is an F2 to move this over, and then an L like this, and then they're both a D prime away from being solved. So I will do a D2 next. This would also coincidentally put in this edge also. But what I also see is you can also build an X cross. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that at all, but an X cross is basically an extended cross, so you can solve your first pair at the exact same time. So what I would do in this scenario is do an L to preserve this block over here, F, and then this moves this cross piece in, and then when I move this back up, you can just do a D. This is an extended cross because the edge was already placed in here, and then at the bottom is just a D away from being solved. So for your first pair, you looked around quite a bit, and it was actually okay because your recognition for that was pretty good, especially for your speed. You actually did see this pair right here, the orange and red, but you kind of inserted it a little bit weirdly. So what you did is you went like this, R prime to pair it up, U R, and then you inserted it over here. But what you could do instead is actually just do a U2. You just pair it up like this, it's already paired up, do a U prime, L. So once again, it's L prime, U prime, L. Okay, one more thing, while you were inserting the pair, you kind of did a bad regrip here. So a regrip is essentially where you're not in home grip. This is home grip right now. You regrip to solve this pair right here. So you went like this, you put your thumb at the bottom, but what you could just do is just move it like this instead of regripping all the way down here, because that definitely could save you a lot of time. So be mindful about your regrips. So just hold it from this angle with your thumb in front and home grip and go like this. For pair number 2, you saw this red and blue pair, and what you did was this. Okay, so I would honestly go for that same exact pair, but I would not solve it in the way you did because honestly that was quite inefficient there. So for the red blue pair, what you could have just done is a U and then R, U, R prime, and it sets it up as a split pair right here, and then you can just go ahead and insert it into the back. So for your third pair, you saw this green and orange pair, so what you did was an R, U2, R prime, U2, R, U2, R prime, just like that to pair it up, and then insert it in. But instead for this pair, what you could have done was just an R prime instead of doing an R, doing a U2 to move it in the back, and you can cancel into this move, so doing an R2 like this to pair it up, U, R prime. Okay, what I also noticed in your solves is you just do single flicks like this, so be sure to utilize the double flicks because I think that'll definitely help in your solves, and learn the finger trick. So it's just pointer finger and then middle finger just like this. You might have to spam it a little bit, but get used to it and try using both hands at the same time. I think that'll definitely be a lot more beneficial for you. But anyway, for your fourth pair, what you saw was this pair right here, and what you did was actually rotate here, rotate back, which is not the best. Just recognize the pair immediately and be able to do it from multiple angles. So R prime, U2, R, and then inserted it into the back. Okay, so for your OLO, you do 2 looks. So this is the case right here, and you do fat F, sexy F prime just like this. And you regrip at the end, which is not that good. So what you want to do is just to finger trick it like this. F, R, U, R prime, U prime, and then use your thumb on your right hand to do an F prime. So for this OLO, you actually did a good alg for this, but your finger tricks weren't so good, so you mainly use your right hand for this, and just be mindful and use your left hand for some of these too. So here's how you finger trick it. Okay, so for PLO, you had an R perm here, so you did a U2 and rotated at the same time, and then you have this R perm here, so you did a T perm from right here, this angle, and then you had a U perm. But instead, what you could do is actually learn the R perm here, because I think you're definitely at the stage. This is the RB perm, and it goes like this. And fast, it looks like this. But instead you were left with this U perm right here, so what you did was you rotated, and instead you could have just done a U2 and then done your alg. You could just do a U. I've been practicing these. You can do an R2, U prime, B, F, R2, B, F prime, U prime, R2. That was it for solve 1. Let's get into solve 2. so for solve number 2, what you did was yellow cross, and it was actually, I wouldn't go for yellow cross because I know you're a white and yellow cross solver. I would honestly go for white cross, but here's your solution anyway for yellow. You did a D2 to put this piece in. For your next cross piece, you looked around for this a little bit and you saw this orange yellow piece, so you put it in like this and then you put the blue piece in. I didn't see why you did that honestly, because the blue piece was already matched up like that. Then anyway, you went to do the blue, went like that, rotated again. You're doing a lot of rotations in your cross, which is not the best at all here. Then you did a U and then did an F2 to finally put it in, and your whole entire yellow cross is solved. I would do white cross, so I would see this as opposite here, and then this piece, when you do an F move, it makes it opposite over here just like that, and you can do an L move. But also I'm keeping note of this pair in the back. Here I have the two opposites here, then I do a D prime just like that, and then when you can put this piece in, I would do a U to just preserve that pair, and then I would do an F to put this in, and then you can just do a cross. You can just align your cross with the D prime, and then you can just go straight into the pair here. But if you're going to do yellow cross, I just want to give you some pointers because I feel like you could have done something a lot better. Essentially what you see here is, you see this piece, you did a good job of just doing a D2 here to pairing that up. But what you could actually do here is to make two pieces go in at the exact same time. So if you do a U2 right here, this piece, when you put this solved blue edge into down here, it also solves to the orange center. So then you can just put it in, and then with this piece, instead of doing a U and then B2, what you could just do is a D, and then you have the empty slot, you can do an L2 to put in, and then a D prime. Okay, so one thing I want to just recommend is your transition between your cross and the first pair. It is not good whatsoever in my opinion. So what you should do is really look for your pairs, because you did rotate like 3-4 times I think to look for your first pair. But anyway, for your first pair you saw this right here, the red and blue pair, but instead you could have easily saw this pair, because this pair is definitely a better option than this. What you did was split them up just like that and then solve them like that. Okay, like I said before, this pair was definitely a lot better that you could do. You could just split it up like that, and it's a split pair right here. This pair, if you were just gonna do that, I would recommend just rotating over here, having the red and blue slots in the front, put the pair over here and do R, U prime, R prime to put the corner in, and then here, this is just a simple case. You can just take it out, pair it up, and then insert it back in. For pair number 2, what you saw was this pair. What you did was you split it up just like this, and then you went like this. What you could have done instead is just be mindful and actually learn these intermediate F2L tricks. So if you do a U2 and then this pair in the back, you could just do an R prime U2 R to split it up to make it a split pair, and then you can just insert it into the back. So for your third pair, what you did was this pair, the orange and blue pair, so you split the two corner and edge up like that, did a U2 and then paired it up like that, and then inserted it in. For this pair, what you could have done is instead do a U. You could actually do it from the back, because doing it in the back is a lot better than doing it in the front, so you don't have to rotate. L, U2, L prime, just like that, to set it up for a split pair like this, and then you can just insert it into the back. For your fourth pair, you did something really bad in my opinion, is you took 3 seconds to actually recognize what your pair was. So you rotated, looked around in the back, but you should notice and recognize where the pairs are. But instead what you did was some weird insert I don't think I can mimic right now, is you just took this pair out and then paired it up somehow. What you should do instead is just pair these two up. It's like in the beginner's method. It also preserves your edges, because you did get a dock case in this case. So what you could just do here is do an R, U prime, R prime, just like in the beginner's method, and then you can rotate and insert it, and it also gives you a nice L-shaped case. So next up for your OLL, what you did here was this. What you could have done is actually learn the dock case for this. This was actually pretty easy. So what you do here is you have this in the top right corner, this block on the right, and then this block in the front. You just do wide F sexy F prime, and then you have just F sexy F prime right here, and then you just do it like that. And then you also had soon for your OLL, so what I would do is work on your finger tricks for this, because it was not the best. So definitely use double flicks when you're doing it, like I mentioned before. You can execute your soon like this. Okay, and for your PLL, you had an R perm, so you had to match up this block here to have it solved. You don't actually have to do that. You can just do it from any angle and it'll be okay. So you just rotated twice. So you did a T perm from right here. Once again, learn the R perm. And then for your PLL, once again, you had it from the back and you rotated twice. Once again, do not do that. Just do a U2, simply because it's faster than a rotation, and then you did your AUG. So for your final solve, here is your cross solution. So like I reiterated before, please do not rotate twice, especially when doing your cross, because in this case scenario there is definitely a lot better solution that I just wanted to show you right now. So the solution that I was thinking of was you could do an F2 to make these opposite, and this one's already opposite in, so then you can put those two pieces in, the opposites, so now it's just a D2 away from being solved, and you can do a D prime to put this piece in, and a D prime again. For your first pair, you did something sort of interesting that I wouldn't have thought you would have done. So here, you saw this corner here, the red and blue corner, you match it up right here, you took out the pair like that, did a D prime, and then inserted the pair back in. In this case scenario, I feel like you could have done something a lot better here. You could have seen this orange and green pair, so what you could have done was just paired it up like that, and then inserted it into the back. You could do this special insert like this. Okay, so for pair number 2, you saw this corner and this edge right now could match up, and you took it out and then inserted it back in. But another insert that you could do from right here that is also rotationless, I mentioned this in another one of my solve critiques, but you could do a U prime right here and do a sledgehammer, just like that. So R prime F, R F prime, and then insert the pair in. Okay, one thing I also wanted to point out was when you inserted this pair, you also inserted it into the front, which was not good, and make sure to insert it into the back. And you also did have some finger tricks that weren't that good, so you inserted it like this. But otherwise, the most important thing is to have the pair into the back. For your third pair, your solution was actually pretty good, except that you kind of did look around and rotate a little bit. This was your solution. That's the solution I would do, so nothing I would change there. And then once again, for your final pair, what you did was just a kind of a weird insert. You went like this, R, U2, R prime. You could do a U prime and then a sledgehammer, so R prime, F, R, F prime, just like that, and it's a split pair right there, and you can just insert it. Okay, so after that, for OLL, you had this case, which is an L-shaped case, so you did it from here, and you did wide F, sexy F prime, but you could also do it, I feel like it's faster if you just do a U2 from right here, and do F, U, R, U prime, R prime, F prime. Okay, and this OLL, you executed it pretty well. You can execute it like this, so pinch up here on this block, and then go like this. And you can do the F prime with your finger like this, your pointer finger on your left hand. So fast it looks like this. And then finally for PLO, you had a T perm, so you match it up over here to make this block like that. Once again, you do not have to match it up. So overall, Dan, your solves are pretty good, especially for your speed. You have good F2L solutions, you're getting the hang of it. I think you just need to be a little bit more comfortable with F2L, so I would recommend watching some of J-Perm's videos or just watching some other ones online, some more advanced and intermediate F2L tricks, because I think that will definitely help you a lot. It is really, really important to get the fundamentals down, especially F2L and finger tricks. I would start with the finger tricks first of all, and then work on your F2L. Your OLL and PLL aren't the greatest, but I think finger tricks will definitely help with it right now at least. So if we do a cross example, I just did a random hand scramble right now, and to focus on influencing other pieces, so for example, if I'm doing white cross right now, I can move this piece in right here, and I know this piece, when I move this down, this is going to come down here to make it opposite this white edge, and if I do an F prime, this is going to be opposite here. I can do a D prime to match that up, so it's opposite L, B to put those in, and then R, and then a D2, especially for your speed, probably under 10 moves. So try looking on CS Timer, because I think they have some, or just watch some example solves from like cubers that are maybe sub 20. Oh yeah, and then for OLL, what I would recommend is doing the alg. You might know this OLL, but for the sake of like OLL, right here you could do F, U, R, U prime, R prime, F prime, instead of doing it here wide F, because I feel like you have trouble doing that. For example, if the T perm is like this, it's not matched up, I feel like you would just match it up like that. You don't need to do that. Instead, it's better to do the AUF at the end rather than rotating and matching it up. PLO recognition is something you need to work on. Those are just my recommendations for you, Dan. Thank you so much for submitting your solves. Appreciate it a lot. I like how I'm having a lot of diverse people that are submitting their solves to me. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy this critique, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace out.